All right, let's dive into a topic that is, well, quietly reshaping our world in ways we can see and in a whole lot of ways we can't. We're talking about the powerful combination of artificial intelligence and mass surveillance.
And just so you know, all the information we're about to cover comes straight from Chapter 13 of the Introduction to Artificial Intelligence tutorial by Virtualization Options LLC. Okay, let's get into it.
You know that feeling, right? That little prickle on the back of your neck? But in the age of AI, that question has taken on a whole new weight. It's not just a feeling anymore. In so many of our public and digital spaces, we are being observed. The real question is, by what? And what does it actually see?
Think about it. For decades, surveillance was pretty simple. A security guard watching a grainy camera feed. It was slow, it was expensive, and you couldn't be everywhere at once. But AI? It's completely changed the game. It's given governments and companies the power to watch and analyze us on a massive, automated scale that was, honestly, this stuff of science fiction not that long ago.
So how exactly does all this work? Well, it's not just one magic technology. It's more like a whole toolkit of AI-powered systems all working together. So let's open up that toolkit and take a look at the main technologies behind this invisible lens.
First up is the one you've probably heard the most about, facial recognition. At its core, it's pretty simple to understand. It's an AI that can look at a face in a picture or a video and match it to a name in a massive database. You can think of it like a digital police lineup, but one that can scan millions and millions of faces in just a few seconds. And right away, you can see the two sides of this coin. On one hand, it can be an incredible tool for good, finding a dangerous criminal or locating a missing child. But on the other hand, there are some really serious problems. The source material points out that the technology is often way less accurate for women and people of color, which can lead to absolutely devastating false matches and wrongful arrests. And even when it works perfectly, it creates a world where our movements can be tracked in public without us ever knowing or agreeing to it. Next up in the toolkit is something that sounds like it's straight out of a movie: predictive policing. The idea, at least on the surface, sounds pretty good. Use AI to analyze past crime data to figure out where crime is most likely to happen next. This could help police use their resources more effectively and maybe, just maybe, prevent crimes before they even happen.
But here is the massive catch. The AI learns from historical data. So, what happens if that historical data is biased? Let's say certain neighborhoods have been historically over-policed. Well, they're going to have more arrests on record. The AI sees that data and says, hey, more crime happens here. So what happens? More police get sent to that neighborhood, which leads to more arrests, which just creates more data that proves the AI was right all along. It's a really dangerous feedback loop that can lock in and even worsen existing inequalities.
And the toolkit doesn't stop there, not by a long shot. AI is also being used to monitor social media, scanning millions of public posts to find potential threats or track political opposition. Then you've got behavioral analysis, which is AI that tries to spot anomalous behavior. Someone lingering too long in an airport or walking in a strange way. The problem, of course, is that what's unusual is often completely harmless, which can lead to a whole lot of false alarms. So when you put all of these powerful tools together, it brings us to this huge, fundamental conflict that societies have been wrestling with for centuries. Only now it's supercharged by AI. It's this incredibly delicate balancing act between our desire for security and our fundamental right to liberty. And this really lays out the core debate perfectly. On one side, people argue these tools are essential. They can help prevent terrorism, solve crimes faster, and speed up emergency response. They see it as a path to a safer, more efficient society. But the critics, they're raising some serious red flags about the right to privacy, the very real potential to unfairly target minority communities, and the risk of building an infrastructure that could easily be used for authoritarian control. This is such an important point from the source material, because the impact isn't just about getting caught doing something illegal. It's about what's called the chilling effect. When you know you might be watched, do you feel as free to express a controversial opinion, or attend a protest, or even just search for sensitive information online? It can slowly and subtly discourage the very free speech and dissent that are essential for a healthy democracy. So, with the stakes being so high, what can we do? The source outlines some really critical safeguards. First, we need clear laws and judicial oversight, meaning a judge has to sign off. We need transparency, so people actually know what data is being collected and why. We need strict limits on how long that data can be kept. We also need independent experts to audit these AI systems for both accuracy and bias. And maybe most importantly, there has to be real accountability when these systems mess up and hurt innocent people. And that brings us to the final and I think most important point of all. The future of surveillance isn't already written in code. The technology is here, sure, but how we decide to use it or not use it is a profound societal choice. It's a choice that every single one of us has a stake in. So, the ultimate question this leaves us with is a big one. Where do we, as a society, draw the line? How much of our privacy are we really willing to trade for a feeling of safety? And who gets to make that decision for all of us? There are no easy answers here, but just asking the question, that's the most important first step we can take.